Oh, and I can do. I mean, we're live.
We're
Hi,
live.
guys.
Hello there.
But also, I was gonna say I'm on my computer now because I have Wi-Fi now.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I can actually help with comments again.
Yay! Megan's much better at the comments than I am.
Sometimes, yeah, you know, sometimes ADD actually helps a little bit.
You're like, ooh, this one. Great. Hello, everyone. I'm gonna tweet that we're live.
Yes.
I just got my notification that we're live.
I haven't
How is
yet.
everyone doing? So.
Oh, looks like somebody's here. Hello, person. Say hello.
Say hello when you're here. Say hello.
Have
Welcome
you guys
to
checked
Happy Hour.
either of the other live streams at all? I know there were a couple at 4. Andrew was on one, and the New York debate was
Don't
going
tell
on.
anyone.
Oh yeah, that's right. Don't say anything.
Well, you know, hopefully after they're done with those, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, look, Yang Gang Book Club's
Exactly.
live. Let's
I haven't-
hop over." Live stream
I've
hopping.
been live stream hopping. I wish. I've been working all day, this is a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna do it on my computer so I can tweet the link. Yeah, definitely have some stiff competition today.
You're telling me. How do you compete with Andrew Yang? You don't.
And like Paget doing, I think she's doing like a good old stream like commentary.
Yeah.
So yeah. So today we're going to all right, Megan, can you tweet the link? I'm just that bad at it. Okay.
I got you.
We're live on Twitter. Okay. We do a check-in. So this is the 17th.
Oops, my bad. Go ahead.
I was like, I thought it was me. We do a check-in in the middle of the month so that we can talk about the book, but also get to know each other and talk about other things besides books. So if there's anything you want to talk about, put it in the chat. I'm Kateri. This is Meghin. To my right.
Nice. Well
Looks
done.
like my right. And then we're joined by Trevor. So if you don't know Trevor, you should know Trevor.
On the bottom, second tier, right where I belong.
Nah.
No.
Purely coincidental.
Trevor.
This is whoever got on the stream first.
Oh, you're calling me out for being tardy. I see how it is.
Couldn't help. Trevor runs the Instagram page. So he is so super. I combine so and super. He is totally on the team.
Yeah, I would say for that, we're gonna be at some point rolling out wanting to get a lot of the Yang Gang Book Club like on the Instagram. So it's like it's kind of more about what people are reading and videos, the Takeover Tuesday stuff. We've got already a lot of content that I've got to upload. Don't remind me how much I still have to do on that, but I will be on it in no time, I promise. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I love connecting with people in the Yang Gang, and so hopefully that will be just another kind of arm of the book club, because the whole Bookstagram thing is like this huge. I don't know if anyone follows any of that, but it's this huge arm of Instagram, which is a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll be a part of that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll. No idea. Trevor, is that you? Because you don't have headphones in.
What? Is there feedback or something? Let me close this real quick.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say we're trying to get all of you to have a voice in the book club. So if you are interested in doing a Takeover Tuesday, if you're not aware what that is, every Tuesday you get the opportunity, or one Yang Gang gets the opportunity to take over the page and recommend books, and you do that by uploading a video of yourself talking about a book. So yeah, if you're not aware, check them out on the page. And we also upload it to YouTube, and we also want to incorporate that, like Trevor was saying, on Instagram. So yeah.
Can I just say that the Takeover Tuesday is one of my favorite parts of the Yang Gang Book Club. I look forward to that every week. And I just noticed too, I think I've bought a book every week from someone's recommendation. Which is a problem because I have more reading material than I could ever go through in a lifetime, and I keep on buying books.
That's amazing.
But there's always something that I've either heard of or hear and want to kind of examine. And Sunny's the other day was awesome. I mean, I watched every one of the videos, and they were and sometimes there's recommendations that I don't think I'll ever get, but that's what's so cool about it. I love Takeover Tuesday.
Me too.
Cool. Me too. Yeah, I'm always so excited for each one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Will.
Well,
Yeah, we've been trying. That's something we've been like wanting to do. It was just trying to find the time kind of to like research some apps, and the app isn't perfect. So we're still trying to work out the kinks, but shout out to Sunny because they did their own captions this week.
So I was going to ask about that. I love the captions because Eric did captions too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we did it.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Sunny, they went ahead and took the initiative and like put the captions on their own videos, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But that is something that we're trying to do from here on out, for our Twitter videos, because we do want them to be, more inclusive, so everybody can, get the recommendations. So,
and even for me, like I find when I'm like on Twitter, and especially when I was on Facebook, not anymore, when someone posted a video that had captions, I'd be more likely to watch it.
Yeah,
so I think it's just better. I think it's better for everybody, and it's more inclusive. So yeah, we're excited about that. Tuesday Takeover coming at you with captions now. Subtitles. What are we gonna call it?
Yes, and I did want to say, like, I do reach out to people for the Takeover Tuesdays, but if you are interested in doing one, it's not like we have some type of criteria for like who gets to do it. Now anybody can do a Takeover Tuesday. So if you've been wanting to do one, just DM the book club page. That's YG Book Club on Twitter, and just ask to set one up. We're booked out through July, but August is pretty open. So just let us know.
Yeah. Or if you're like, I only have like one or two books I would want to recommend, you can still basically do the same thing. We generally upload those videos on Sundays, more like one-off videos. We've done that a few times. So lots of options. So yeah, if you're here, say hi. Check in. And we haven't heard from some of you.
And we are going to talk about the book a tiny bit, but like we also just wanted this to be you guys getting to know the three of us a little bit. So if you ever have any questions for us during this live stream, just pop them in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. So one last time, I'm Kateri.
I'm Meghin.
And Trevor.
Cool. So let's just quickly do our check-in. Hi, Dan. Oh, Dan Kirchak. Cool. Victor, yay. Hi. Check in, say hi. So if anyone's not aware, the book of the month is Tyranny of Kindness.
Yes.
I'm just really bad at this.
I never read my book.
We never say the subtitle.
Look at this.
Oh, I have a stack of books. I'm like, can I bring my book? Dismantling the Welfare System to End Poverty in America.
Yes.
We never read the subtitle. Or not subtitle. Subtitle? Whatever it's called.
We should know this, Kateri.
I get books. Clearly, I get books.
Mm-hmm.
By Theresa Funiciello. This book pick was specifically given to us by Scott Santens, who is essentially partnering with us this month. You're going to see more of that in the next week or so. And if you're here, you get the exclusive insider announcement before we officially announce it. But we're going to be doing the book discussion of this book formally in like a week or so with Scott and a special guest.
That was not rehearsed, I would just like to say.
You were like my echo. A special guest. So yeah. Epic stuff. So if you're reading the book, even if you've just read the intro or whatever, chime in. Let us know how it's going for you. Any thoughts? Anything you want to discuss about it as a like pre-discussion? That's why we're here. We're gonna do that too. None of us have finished the book yet, right? We're all still reading the book. Yes.
I'm about 40 pages into it, so I've got a while to go.
It is
I have like 200-ish pages to go, I think. 280, maybe.
I just started part 2. I just started part 2.
Yeah, I'm in part 2 as well. I'm pretty far in.
But Trevor, you don't have to do the discussion video, so you don't even have to finish it.
I'm off
we
the
have
hook.
to finish.
I actually already finished it. So I already finished the book weeks ago. No, right now I'm all over the place. I'm reading like 5 books right now, and I just think it's part of the whole mood that the last 3 months have been in. I have been kind of a roller coaster, and so there's sometimes when I'm just reading like a graphic novel because I want to space out, and there's other times when I read nonfiction and stuff that I think is important right now for our times, and kind of like, you know, learning and working. And then there's times I just don't have the energy for it. Tyranny of Kindness, I mean, it's the new ideas for me, which I like, but it's a heavier book for sure. I mean, it's not just like, yay, light, fun read at the beach, you know. It's a little bit more figuring out some of the things in the world we need to problem solve for. So
Especially snarky though.
Hilarious.
She's so snarky.
The snark helps.
I read something sometimes, I'm like, oh shit, girl, okay.
Yeah. It's also, you know, it's one thing, like the one thing I can kind of relate to in this book, because this book is about people who come from like extreme poverty. Like, you know, like I think all 3 of us have experienced class issues in our own way, but like we're talking extreme poverty in America, like the third world kind of stuff that we like to think doesn't exist here. But the one thing that like that's kind of in here that I feel like I could actually relate to was when she was talking, and this is relating also to the book that we're going to read next month, is just talking about like building a movement and doing a grassroots movement, coming together, you know, pouring yourself into something that you care about and trying to like affect change. And those were the uplifting moments, or so far, those have been the uplifting moments for me. Because they're, you know, even as bleak as it gets, there's just something so like uplifting and hopeful and energizing about trying to make things better and like being passionate about what you care about and following through, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so that's gonna highlight.
I've always been a sucker for like the anti-hero character, and like what's interesting for this book is it's changing kind of how I felt about welfare programs and, you know, social safety nets my entire life, and because I've always been, you know, very pro. But I think what's interesting is, you know, there's a lot of people in nonprofits and charity and welfare programs that mean well and want to do really good, for the poorest of society, but they, the whole system isn't set up very well. It's not efficient. It's not doing what people want to do. And you can tell in her snark and what she's saying that there's a lot of good intended people that can't do a lot with what they're given help. So I don't know. It's been a very eye-opening situation. And I bought the book for my mom actually too and sent that to her. She hasn't read it, but it's a good one. I mean, it's interesting. And it goes right hand in hand with universal basic income, which is obviously what we all support very much.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe that is, just so you know, like everyone knows that this month is themed UBI month. Oh, and before we get further into discussion, I thought, well, I should probably plug the other reading because so I haven't gotten here, but part 3 of the book is Toward a Politics of Justice, Guaranteed Income. So Scott picked the book obviously because it does actually get into that concept, guaranteed income. Just not the whole book is about that. And so I will link as well in the description the 3 articles that we're reading in tandem with this book. So we're reading one article by Martin Luther King, but it was published by Scott Santens. So he essentially takes the parts Martin Luther King is writing on his guaranteed minimum income and what he had to say on it, and also provides some context. So it's actually a really great article. And then 2 other articles by Scott that we have also shared already on Twitter, but I'll put them here. And then we're also reading Crisis 2038 by Gerald Huff. And we will be having a live stream event for this separately. We've announced it, but it will be postponed for just whatever reasons. But so anyway, just throwing that out there. Oh, this is really quick. This is essentially the dystopian future that Andrew Yang predicts in The World of Normal People, as if it actually happens. And that's my pitch.
I'm listening to it on SoundCloud and I'm super into it. It sucks you in. It's also the guy who does the voice is really good too.
He is, yeah.
He's really good. But it just sucks you in because the story, it's so realistic. Especially considering, I don't know if you guys saw the article that was on Twitter about Walmart getting rid of their cashiers and just going to self-checkout. Yeah.
Crazy.
I didn't read it. I saw of it, but
yeah. So I was just kind of thinking, I was like, oh my God, in Crisis 2038,
it's
yeah, they were I don't know, it sucks you in big time.
Yeah.
I think I'm only on chapter, because I'm listening to it. So I listen to it when I can, but I'm thinking I'm only on chapter 18. So I have a little ways to go. But I'm
halfway through.
Yeah, I will just say though that when you're listening, some of the chapters are 7 minutes listening, maybe 5. I think one was 3 minutes of a chapter, and some of them are 30 minutes. So it is fast listening, it's very fast. But it's really good. It's not like I wasn't. Oh, Lilia said, thanks for the tip.
Oh, sorry. I'm not.
About the audio version. Yeah. And Lilia, it is actually, if you go to our Twitter page, it is, I believe the link to that is in our pinned tweet.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
So I'll put the link.
Yeah.
I'll put the link in the description box. But every month when all the reading, so we often will have supplementary reading, articles and stuff like that. All of that will always be in the pinned tweet thread on our page.
Yeah.
If you're oh, what are we reading this month? So long as we've announced it or it's the actual month, it'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Will said, I'm starting to think 2038 might be a bit of an underestimation.
Oh.
Maybe. I'm not really sure. Like, I was kind of thinking, but that's only like 18 years from now. That's like one
I think
generation.
that's what he's saying, though. I think he's saying it might be too late.
No,
instead of early.
I don't know. I could see it being right on time in a way, because that's like 18 years is like one generation-ish, right? I don't know how long a generation is. But I mean, that could be like
a lot of
our
generation
kids.
talk lately, hasn't there been?
Oh my God.
Everyone's talking. Yeah.
Look, you know
Generation.
what's so funny? Okay. I'm a millennial. And what's so funny is like on Facebook memories, which is literally the only reason I go on Facebook nowadays, is to look at on this day so I can see how stupid I was when I was like a ninth grader. But on this day, like a few years ago, I went on like a whole rant about being a millennial and how people give us shit all the time. But I was like, look, most of us went to school, we have debt, we're working in a job that we don't care about and has nothing to do with our degree. We're working at like 3 jobs that have nothing to do with our degree. And it's like, so I was like, and yet we're still fighting for things. Yeah, and I just went on this huge rant. But then obviously my attitude has changed a tiny bit, because the other day, you know, on Twitter, everyone was making fun of millennials. And I was like, haha, yeah, we hate us too. It's fine. We hate ourselves enough. we also hate us. It's fine. Like, it's totally fine.
Yeah. Trevor, you're not a millennial, are you?
I am, actually. I think I'm like the oldest millennial you can be. I was born in 82. Okay. I've also heard the phrase Zennial, because like on the cusp of Generation X and Millennial. Pretty sure I'm a millennial, though. I've always defended millennials a lot from getting bashed online, and I think it's a great generation.
I think.
But I mean, I also like Facebook came out when I was in college in 2000. I got it in 2005. And it was only college students at that point. It wasn't open to the public. And I don't know if do you guys remember AOL? Like IM and stuff. So like I remember, I mean, there was a time when like a computer was just a computer and we weren't really like talking to other people. I mean, before MySpace, like AOL, instant messaging girls from high school was like a big deal for us. Like that was like really cool. So I do think I'm a millennial, kind of the upper limits of the generation or whatever. But yeah, I like my generation. I don't really know what to say about any others.
I was actually gonna say about
Victor's
emails.
AOL email.
Yeah, I was actually going to say about email.
You can tell what generation someone is by what email they have.
I had a Hotmail.
Okay, yeah.
I had a Hotmail too.
And my dad was like, Hotmail? What's Hotmail? And I was like, it's email. He's like, well, I don't want you going on no Hotmail. And I was like, it's email.
It's just email.
AOL emails are usually attorneys, because they were kind of some of the first people to get email. So whenever I see people within AOL email, Gen X for Victor, yeah, that's the AOL email for sure. The Gen X.
That's so funny.
I wanted to say just one thing about, because Kateri, you said you're not on Facebook, right?
Technically, I haven't been on my Facebook in like over a year, so I haven't done anything with it. I haven't like deleted it.
So this is one thing. I mean, every time I get on Facebook, I wonder why I get on in the first place. It's not what it used to be, but I will say, because I still have it for business, I do connect with clients and people I know, and I can kind of follow through, you know, people. But one thing I have noticed, like Scott Santens' article, I forgot the name of it. It's From Rats in Cages to Primates in Paradise. Loved it. I think I knew about the rat park, and I don't know where I read that. Anyway, what I have found is that I think Facebook is a good place to share articles or media for a different audience than Twitter. And it's friends and family. So what I found is like for anything Andrew Yang, Yang Gang, or political or whatever, Facebook can be a good place to share certain things that you want people, that you think people you know and like should read, where Twitter is kind of, I mean, I don't even think I have many friends on Twitter that, like, in real life friends. Like, I don't think I do have any. Everybody, you have one? Yeah. There you go. I don't have many friends anyway, so no big deal.
Yeah, I never consciously went off Facebook. I just realized one day, like, oh, haven't been on Facebook in a while. Okay. And then, like, thought maybe I'll go on Facebook. And then, like, a few weeks later, still haven't gone on Facebook. And then it just, like, became a thing. And now I'm like, I can't. Like, I don't, like, I'm, like, nervous. Like, I'm, like, anxious to go back on there. And I had this weird thing where I was like, okay, like, I had some, like, big life events, like, more career life events happen over the course of the past year. And was like, okay, I'll at least go on and, like, pop in and make an announcement. Never did. Like, so I think I'm just off Facebook now.
Yeah, I just don't even like really how Zuckerberg is running the company, and I don't like a lot of the decisions that they're making. It does. I just find myself naturally not on the platform a lot anymore, which I used to use it all the time, and it has been good for business, and it has been good for keeping in contact with people. But it's a messy feed, and the everything that's on it it's just hard to. I'm not on as much. But I guess what I was saying was that I think it's a good place to share. Like, I share books that I'm reading, and if people comment, because I'm always I'm quick to, I like buying people books, and people will say something, and then I can say, oh, do you want a copy or whatever. So it is more, I guess, a connection between, people I went to high school with, I haven't talked to in 15 years, but we might comment on each other's Facebook page,
Yeah. What I was going to say about Messenger, actually, in particular, I was going to say, I feel like once a month at least, I think I tweeted about this, like, some random girl from, like, college or high school will message me and be like, hey, hun, I know we weren't really friends in college, but I'm like, no, we weren't. We had, like, one class together. I think I said hi to you once. Like, I don't, and they're, like, wanting me to join whatever, like, I'm going to say the word, pyramid scheme that they're a part of, and I'm like, honey, I don't know you. Like,
yeah.
So I kind of been staying off of Facebook kind of for that. But I mainly have Facebook, I think, just for my family, like my granddad and my aunts, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. That's
I don't really
I've missed.
post. Yeah, I'll go on and, like, my best friend posts a bunch of memes. So I'll like her memes, or she'll tag me in something. But I don't really I don't post really unless I post on my Instagram and then click to post on Facebook from there. But I never post directly on Facebook.
There you go. Social media in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, so follow Yang Gang Book Club on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram I love.
Instagram. Even though Facebook owns Instagram now. So it's like, right? It's a little
totally. Yeah,
they do.
It's a little concerning. But cool. So before we move on too much, did we have anything else we wanted to say about the book other than, so I think we agree that it's not the lightest reading, but important reading.
Yeah, I will say, keep going, because everyone gets easier to read, because she's not giving as much backstory as she goes. It's more so she's just kind of explaining the system, which is really interesting. There is stuff, sorry, I have a little mini heart attack, almost knocked my cup over. And my life just flashed before my eyes. But no, it gets easier to read, as in, you don't feel I'm not gonna say bogged down by stories, but with her stories, it's a lot of people and places to keep track of. But with this, she's breaking down systems, and it just kind of is easier to read. And then she throws her snark in there, and you're like, ha, I love social commentary, so it does get a lot easier to read if you push through it. She does have like a really, like, you do feel like you're having a conversation with her, like you feel like she's talking to you, which makes it nice. So yeah, just keep pushing, because it is really good, and I think it is really important. Trevor, my mom also bought the book as well, and she's been reading it. She has like her own personal stories with that, you know, and like back when, anyways, I have to ask her permission to tell it, but anyway, it's been interesting to have those conversations with my mom, because she was in that kind of thing for a small period of time, you know, and so for her, she's always taught us, like, because, you know, in the book, Theresa goes into like the stigma for sure. She has like I think a whole chapter just on the stigma of, you know, being in the welfare system. And my mom always taught us that, like, we don't look down on anybody, because number one, like, you have to remember where you came from, you know, and like, number two, like, you don't know anybody else's story. Like, you don't know why, you know, they're going through what they're going through. So you just don't judge them for it, you know? So it's just interesting hearing her talk to me about it and be like, you know, when she sees, I mean, it's not as much today, because it's more so people use the EBT cards more than they use like actual like coupons or anything anymore. But even back when they were still using those and she wasn't anymore, it was kind of like she knew where they were. And so she just had that like extra compassion. Do you know what I mean? Of like, I'm not gonna, like, she was like, I would give them, instead of like looking at them with judgment, it was more so like I would just give them that, like, that's like, she's like this smile. And I know exactly what smile she's talking about, because she like, it's like her compassionate smile. Like, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, but I just want you to know that you're seen and I feel you and I understand you. And like, it's really cool, because I kind of, I guess sometimes I take for granted like my upbringing, I guess. Because then I read books like this and I'm like, I mean, I was aware of the stigmas, but my mom just did not raise us like that at all. So it's been really interesting though, because we're like bonding over this book. So it's been really cool.
I think the power of this book is with the argument that liberals bring to universal basic income versus, you know, the welfare system, because, you know, conservatives or libertarians, you know, kind of use this whole people milk the system and there's a lot of fraud and it's an expense and people just need to pick themselves up from the bootstraps. This isn't necessarily for them. What this is great for, I think, are progressives and liberals whose argument against universal basic income is that, you know, people will lose their food stamps or people will lose their housing credits or whatever. And the truth is that the system is inefficient. You know, we're not, they've tried everything they can except to give money to the poor. And honestly, that comes down to trust. You know, people are saying, well, we'll give you money, but we don't trust you to spend it properly. You're going to go out and buy alcohol and drugs and cigarettes. You need to use it for bread and you need to use it for milk. So we're going to do it in this system. The problem is that every dollar that, you know, could have went to someone that needs the dollar, they're only getting 20 cents of it and they have to spend it this certain way. And it's a bad system. And so for a lot of progressives and liberals that I think argued against universal basic income because they thought that it was undermining, you know, the whole Andrew Yang Trojan horse, and that it's undermining a system set up to protect our most vulnerable. This is the best book for that, against that argument, because it's coming from an expert. It's coming from, I mean, you just clearly see the decades of work that she's done, and coming from that firsthand, someone that wants to help these people and is saying this is not the way to do it, is a pretty bold and good argument. And that's why I think Scott suggested it, because I mean, you're not gonna convince the libertarian conservative, you know, about the decency of the welfare system. But we do need, I think, you know, anyone, you know, the Democrats to realize that there's a better way. We can give more for less. So
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She does. Yes. Okay. She does. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. And she has like might remind me of the War on Normal People, where Andrew Yang does the same thing, where he puts like assumptions about UBI and then says, well, this is actually the truth, and backs it up with facts. She does that. I wonder if that influenced him, because it's a very effective, where you just like she like puts in italics like the myth of people just need to get a job or something like that. And so that's like the one time I felt like she was speaking to that like more so conservative mindset. The rest of the book very much feels like, I mean, she literally gets into it in part 2, or like the end of part 1 and part 2, where she's talking about like she's like saying like some of the biggest adversaries to poor women are like neoliberal do-gooders who like think, and some of these people are not, it's not even just like the sentiment, it's like literally like people on committees, people in power, in office, like Democrats, who would just flat out refuse what the poor women were asking for. Just like flat out, like, no. And then when they would go against them, like she talks about some people that she knew, a lot of them women, who were like supposed to be like allies to her movement. I forget what it stands for, but they call it DWAC, which is like the organization that she's a part of. And these women who had more power, more influence, I don't know if she specifies, but I imagine they were white women, who like were supposed to be allies. And then if she spoke out, or not even spoke out against them, but like spoke out against the system in a really like explicit, upset way, that they would feel like offended.
Yeah, they'd be like, how rude of you to not warn me.
Yeah. That's exactly
like,
what I was.
What do you think we were here to do? Like,
I highlighted this part, and I'll just read it real quick. The money's all there. It's just being spent of an army of social welfare professionals whose interests are protected by the elected officials they help put them in office, and by the press that naively reports on all of it at face value. I mean, I think that's what I've taken away so much, is that you have this middle class infrastructure whose, if they give them, so they get grants from the state and the federal government, and if they just give that money to the poor, there clearly is no reason for that person to be there. And so there's a conflict of interest, right? The jobs are protected by the bureaucracy that's created. So we have this horrible, inefficient system going on. And I think you could feel the annoyance of her when she's writing of, wait a minute, we just got a $2 million grant, and I can't give the money to the people I'm trying to help. It's agonizing. And I think anyone that have anyone in their life that's needed help from the government in any way knows how difficult it is, and how inefficient it is. I mean, the most vulnerable people in our society often get zero. The stimulus is a great example of that. I mean, no college students got the stimulus, so too bad. But that's what this book talks about.
Right. So yeah, definitely looking forward to our full discussion with Scott Santens and a special guest on top of Scott. Who could that be? So we're having a lot of fun with this, if you can't tell. So anyway, yeah, we'll announce that. It's supposed to be next Saturday, not this Saturday. That's the date. So yeah, plug for that. Stay tuned. Yes. And also the live stream that was planned for this Saturday to discuss this book with Giselle Huff did have to be postponed. Yes. So that will be announced for sometime in early July. So I think that's all to do with the books. I have links will be below.
Yes.
Yes.
After you finish your spiel.
I just said links will be below. I think that's it.
Cool.
It's everything.
I have a question. So, I mean, not everything's going to be about books, but Trevor did mention reading other books, and I'm also reading other books. I know, Kateri, you are too. So let's talk about the other books you're reading real fast. I don't have mine in here, of course. It's on my nightstand. It's on my nightstand. Mine's on my nightstand.
I'm going to go. Oh. I don't have the cover.
That's fine. I'm just going to mention mine. Like,
I want to go grab my books too. I can grab them real quick.
Go for it.
Okay, ready? Break. Go.
I mean, we can't all leave the screen.
Megan, you just stay.
I'll hold down the fort, you guys. I feel a little lonely and awkward. Oh, here comes Kateri.
Don't worry, I'm back.
I should have just gone. It would have been funny.
I was like, okay, I feel lonely and a little awkward.
You're like, I'll hold down the fort. What do I do?
Does that look? Yes.
The cover is so pretty.
Aw.
What is that?
You go first, Kateri. You go first.
Kateri, you go first.
Pretty book goes first. It's called Forward Me Back to You by Mitali Perkins. I've never read this author before, but she has some other books. So it's like a YA, I don't know, like a YA contemporary. It's like a YA novel. It's a novel. And I just started it and was like, oh, I need to get my act together with Tyranny of Kindness. So I'm probably going to have like a teensy break. But the writing's really good. Oh, Erica's here. Hi.
Hi, Erica.
We're talking about other books that we're reading. I'm like winded from that run. Oh gosh.
I know.
Somebody needs to get out of the house.
I know. Like I've just been sitting here.
Before I get into the books I'm reading, remind me, I have a little announcement. Seeing Erica reminds me of it. So remind me of that after you're done, Kateri.
Okay. So anyway, this like I don't entirely know what it's like fully about, but I know that it's like about these two characters who like kind of are from opposite sides of the world, opposite, like I think this character comes, like she's from Oakland and like comes from like a low income family, and then he's like adopted, but he comes from like a white like high income family on the East Coast, and somehow they end up like meeting, and I haven't even gotten to the point where they met yet. But they end up going to do like service in India to like help, like with an organization to help people from human trafficking, like human trafficking survivors. So it's just kind of about their journey. And I'm just like so stoked that it like doesn't take place in America, and it's got a really like diverse cast, and I think they probably fall in love, and it's totally my jam. Writing's really good so far, so yeah. I know she's won. This Mitali Perkins has won like some big awards. South Asia Book Award for one. So yeah, that's my book that I'm also reading.
Yeah. I'll just do mine.
Other two books.
I'll just do mine real fast so that way, Trevor, you can do your books and your announcement. But
oh yeah,
I'm reading. So I tweeted about this, but I'm reading. Right now, I'm reading. I don't have the book with me, but I'm reading The Hate You Give, and I cannot get through like a single chapter without like at least tearing up. So I'm crying. But it's because I you know, and it shouldn't have taken this to make me like kind of reflect on the books that I read. But I was thinking back and I was like, I've read maybe one or two books that have a Black main character. And I don't like that about myself. And I hate that it took something so tragic to make me think about that. So I've kind of committed to try to read at least one a month with a Black main character. You know, so I picked The Hate You Give first because I felt like that was one I cut out.
I heard you, but just in case.
Okay.
We'll repeat it for Erica.
Yeah. No, I was just saying
whatever you want.
No, I was just saying that that I committed to reading at least one book a month with a Black main character, because upon doing some self-reflection, I just realized I've only ever read like maybe one or two books that do have a Black B character. So that's been like my kind of personal commitment. And I started with The Hate U Give because it's been recommended a lot. And then of course it was the movie, so it was pretty big for a while. And I'm usually the type of person that's like, oh, they made a movie about that, I'm not going to read the book now. Like, I don't want to be reading the book
weird?
because I'm like, I don't want to be just like hopping on the train.
Did you see the movie first, though?
No, I haven't seen the movie. No.
Yeah, that's a good call, I think.
Well, the book is so like, I don't know. Like, I know it's a fiction book, but I mean, it's real life, right? Like real life. And, she's talking about the main character Star, she's just talking about how she's kind of stuck in between two worlds. She goes to a really like rich white private school, I believe, that her mom like insists that they be sent to. But then, that's like, she doesn't live in that part of town. And like, she's kind of stuck in between the two worlds, and she's just going through kind of, I'm not all the way through the book, but I don't know, everything she's like seeing it from that perspective and like genuinely hearing it as she's going through it has been really eye-opening, I think, for me. And so it's a really good book. Someone was like, I think every white person should read this book. I agree. I really do agree. I think every white person should read the book. It's so good so far. And I've cried a lot, but in a good way. Like, I mean, not a good way, but in a good way.
And you're reading the audiobook, right?
No, I'm reading it. Like I'm actually like physically reading it. It's one of those ones where
I'm
like
planning to read the audiobook.
Well, it's certain books, I just feel like I need to like sink into it and reread. Whereas like listening, like for example, the other book I'm like reading right now is Harry Potter. I'm on the 4th one, but I'm listening to it because I felt like my attention span just wouldn't work for that. That's why I never read those books growing up, because they're like this thick, like they're huge. But listening to it, I can like, keep up with it. It's not that big a deal. But with this book, I just felt like I really wanted to like read it, like physically read the book. But it's been really good. Like I would definitely recommend it. So that's what I'm reading. All right, Trevor.
I think I haven't read The Hate U Give. I haven't even seen the movie, but I think when you say you're trying to read a book with a person of color protagonist is really important. And I think for everyone, because I think there's a big market out there. The last few years, I think we've seen a lot more women main characters because, let's be honest, a lot of the executives of movies and the executives at publishers, they're old, rich white men. And they don't understand that a lot of people, they just want a good, deep character, and the race or the gender, whatever, but they need depth. And so they don't know or think that there's money there, but there is. And so if people read more books and watch more movies with women protagonists and people of color protagonists, then more will get created and more authors and directors will get work because of that. So it's a good segue into what I was going to say, and seeing Erica here. So my wife brought up, she owns a massage salon. So they're opening up their business this week, and they're doing, it's kind of it's a very dramatic thing. They get like 80 massages a day. So she was like, I think I want to buy a bunch of books about like race or whatever and just give them to clients that come in. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Erica suggested kids books. So she bought 30 of the books that Erica suggested in the Yang Gang Book Club. Woke, for Black Girls Like Me, a kid's book about racism. She bought like the 4 and then one other. She bought 30 copies of them, and she's just going to put them at the front desk and tell parents that come in, yep, just grab it and take it home. And I thought it was great. And it was all, and I just sent her the exact link that Erica suggested, and she bought them all on Amazon. They're opening up on Friday, and she's going to have a display with all these books. And we live in West Seattle, which is it's just a good neighborhood. People are going to go crazy for him, and they're going to be able to take him home or give him away as gifts. And it was, I was going to wait till they came in, but when we started talking about it, it just seemed like appropriate. So it was super exciting. And I think more people, you know, I'm glad you're starting to see at least, I mean, we have in West Seattle, I don't know, I can show pictures, but there's Black Lives Matter all over the place in West Seattle, in my neighborhood, and
That's
signs
awesome.
have come out left and right. And of course, the Chaz here in Seattle has been a little crazy too. So yeah, there you go. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, definitely take a picture. Take a picture so that we can tweet about that, because that is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. In response to everything, like the top of my list is like definitely The Hate U Give, and then also this was a book that Meghin had pointed out to me, but I subsequently like found out about the author, or looked up the author on YouTube. So some of you might know this. It's called White Fragility, and it's by Robin DiAngelo. And I'll link as well some, in the meantime, before I get the book, her talks are on YouTube. And she goes through her book. So, I mean, I'm definitely still going to get the book and read it, but I learned a lot just from, and it's so interesting because she's talking about stuff where I'm like, well, I already kind of knew about that, but you need it contextualized. You need it like, just like given to you, you know, like, cause it's like all this stuff that's just like around you, but you never really questioned. And then you just like hear the way that her take on it. And she's like a PhD in this stuff. But what I love is that she says in one of the videos I watched, she's like practice to theory. So she worked in the field doing racism sensitivity trainings, essentially. I think that's what it's called. And then got her PhD. So anyway, that's also my, like, I recommend the YouTube videos, and I'm sure the book is great. I just haven't read it yet, but I'll link that as well.
There you go.
So, that made me think of one. It's called Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria and Other Conversations About Race by Dr. Beverly Tatum. So the reason I wanted to mention that one in particular is that book actually kind of started, so my husband, Zach, for you guys that don't know, he was a teacher in New Orleans. He did Teach for America for 2 years. And Dr. Beverly Tatum actually came and spoke to them, all of the teachers, specifically because they were going into New Orleans. And a lot of the teachers that are in Teach for America, a lot of them are white. And so she said a lot of like tough things, you know what I mean? Like the one thing he specifically remembers was that it's not enough to not be racist. You have to be like anti-racist, you know, like actively anti-racist is what she said, is the way she put it. And it really made him think. And he was like, it kind of like jarred him at first because he was like, oh no, you can just like, what does that even mean? You know? So he was like, I actually was so like taken aback by it that I read the whole entire book, whereas they had just like assigned them excerpts. He's like, I read the entire book. He was like, because I was kind of just like taken aback by that. And I was like, what? You know? And so he read that, and that just kind of started, you know, his whole like journey. And that book I think is really important. Erica said, I think this is what she's talking about. It's a very important book. Teachers are asked to read that book. Yeah, he had to read it when he was a teacher. But that's another one. It's called, sorry, I forgot. I'm answering questions before I actually put it. It's called Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria?
I'll link it as well.
Yeah, but that's another good one. And then we've also, if you guys are still curious about more books to read about anti-racism, but also like we've tweeted out a bunch of that stuff, but also one that I wanted to mention, since I specifically mentioned like fiction books, I might retweet this from the book club page, but there was a whole resource. It was like 1,000 books of books about Black girls as the main characters, and it's kind of where I got that idea, because I was like, 1,000 books, like that's a lot of books, you know. It was like over, you know, and they break it up into like reading reading levels. So like they had children's books, and they had young adult, and then they had adult fiction, they had nonfiction, they had fiction, you know. So it was really cool. So I'll try to like retweet out that as well, because that was a really cool resource.
I'd say just another book too that changed my world, and it's not all about race, but couldn't believe it wasn't in school, was Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States, or was it The People's History of the US? Ridiculous. And it just made you think like, oh my gosh, I remember learning about, you know, Christopher Columbus and not, you know, genocide, you know, or I mean, you learn about slavery, but it feels like it was 1,000 years ago. And I think the curriculum needs to change quite a bit for, you know, and I think we need to, just like, you know, trusting poor people on what they should spend their money on, I think we should trust kids to be smart enough to be able to talk about race and talk about gender and talk about, you know, adult things that we think we don't want to, you know, or we're too nervous to talk about with kids. We need to trust, and we need to start teaching them at young ages.
Yeah, I totally, you know, that brings me to something too with education in particular. I was helping my mom. So I was telling you guys before we hopped on the live stream, I was helping my mom clean out her garage. She has a ton of teacher stuff. She's been a teacher forever, like, you know, and she's like a teacher at heart, like such a teacher at heart. And she buys so many books for her kids. She's a reading specialist. She's all about books. I got my love of reading from her. And my love of physical books from her as well. Most of what we were organizing was books, you guys. It was like 2 dresses
I'm so
full.
jealous.
Oh my gosh, so many children's books. But she was really into highlights. And she would always get the, you know, the highlights magazines. And she would always
I
get
have no idea what that is.
Yeah,
Really?
I don't think I do either.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How do I
when you
describe
said
it?
it, you were like, duh, this is like so obvious.
Okay,
I was like,
so it's called Highlights. So it's like a magazine, and it was basically kind of like an educational magazine, but for kids. And they would be in like the doctor's offices, and you'd go in, and they'd have like puzzles and like riddles, reading like stories you could write in, and they would post your like publish your little stories and stuff like that. But they're like educational magazines essentially, and people will give them to like teachers for free. But the school she's teaching at won't allow her to use highlights anymore because they feature gay characters. And they were like, well, we don't want to teach the kids about that. And I was like, that's so weird, because when you don't teach kids about that, they go out into the world and they're just like, even if they don't necessarily like, even if they don't care, right? Like they don't care if people are gay, they don't know how to interact with them. They don't know how to interact with people who don't share their sexuality, or people who don't share their, you know, gender expression, you know, and they don't know how to interact with those people. And so then it comes across as like bigotry or like hatred, even if they don't have hate in their heart towards them, they just don't know how to interact. And I was like, how are you supposed to like expect kids to get out into the world and just interact with people if you don't teach them about people that aren't like them? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and
I was like telling her that, and I was like, Mom, that's so dumb. Like, how are you supposed to expect
children? Realize.
Yeah, I was like, you can't, like, you go out into like anywhere in the world now, and like, you know, we're at a time, thankfully, where people can be open with their sexuality. You know, like you go out anywhere, and there's going to be at least, you know, at least one, you know, couple. You know, like, what do you do? Just like awkwardly, just like shield your child. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just like. I was like, you have to teach them. And it's the same thing with like, and I had this same conversation about like, you know, Trevor was saying about slavery. Like, you can't, people act like we have to like beat around the bush with slavery and like approach it so like daintily. And I was like, no, it happened. It fucking happened. And like pretending that it didn't does nothing. When you pretend that something in history didn't happen, that's good. It's going to repeat itself. Like, history is going to repeat itself if you don't learn about what happened. You know what I mean? I'm like, anyways, that just really like, that really grinds my gears, you guys. Like, I was just like, I can't believe you guys don't know what highlights is. that an equal?
Wait, that grinds your gears, or
No. It grinds my
no?
gears.
I remember what you're talking about.
Thinking that children don't like
Yeah.
that children aren't,
Well,
you know, that they aren't. I don't want to say mature, but like as if they don't have brains. Like children are human beings.
No,
They
yeah.
have brains. They're capable of higher thought processes. I remember being like first grade and understanding stuff that like people, like adults didn't think I understood. You know, like I remember being like, well, I know what you're talking about. Like I'm not stupid. You know, I remember being in elementary school and thinking that. You know,
you just see like snarky little 7-year-old Meghin. Like, I know what you're talking about. Like,
I was a snarky 7-year-old.
So no, I definitely like, you know, the thing is that people hear like, oh, we don't need to teach our kids about sexuality. It's like, you're not talking like the way we talk about sexuality. You're not. All you're doing is just saying like, you know, like having a character with 2 dads, and then like just say like,
yes.
like I don't have to like get into those conversations as much as like a dance teacher, but like there's times when I still have to talk about like difficult things with the kids, and like it's just like, you know, like, oh well, you know, her grandma died, so she's sad, and you know, it's like you just present it in a way where it's like it's very simple, it's not fake, it's like true. And all the kid needs to hear is that it's okay. Like all we're talking about is just like showing kids this is normal. There's nothing wrong here. It's okay. Like some boys like boys, some girls like girls. Mm-hmm. Some people are born in the wrong body. Huh, that's an interesting concept. Like we're not talking about like, you know, like bodily fluids or, you know.
Like we're not talking about sex. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's the
like
thing is people think that like sexuality, like as far as like who you're attracted to has to do with sex. And it's like, no, like you don't have to teach them about sex. You're teaching them just about like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what's so weird about the society, right? Is that we've like sexualized homosexuality. You know what I mean? Like it's a fetish. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like, anyways.
I think,
I'm on my soapbox.
I think, when I was younger, I mean, so the title of that book, Meghin, you said earlier, about why all of the Black kids are sitting together in the cafeteria or whatever, it just made me remember, I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan. It's a very diverse city. And some people, they don't think of themselves as racist, but like, I think it's worth asking the question, like, have you been the only white person in a room? You know, a lot of people have never experienced that before. And if you've never walked into a room, you know, I've walked in where there's 30 people, I'm the only white person. And that can be just, you're projecting your vision on what everyone else is thinking. A lot of Black people walk into rooms, they're the only Black person. You know, as a white male, as a straight white male, I think what I need to do is, you know, I've never been in a parking lot like a woman and been the only person there, you know, and been scared or worried. I'm 6'2", you know, no one is gonna do anything to me, right? So it's our job that's why I think reading about main characters with people of color as a protagonist, or movies that, you know, feature women is important, because a lot of people, they might come from a town where there are only white people, and there's only, you know, the one gay person is everybody knows they're gay. It's not like that in most of the country or the world. And I think reading, watching movies, meeting people, traveling, it always helps to expand your mind and not look at the world so narrowly, like only what you're from. I think we have to ask ourselves some of these questions, and what women, what people of color, what LGBTQ plus community goes through on a daily basis when they have to think about these things of who they are and how society is viewing them, to be better kind of allies in any way. So I think that's why reading and watching movies and talking about it, conversations, I think a lot of times people are scared to talk about it because they're worried they're going to say the wrong thing. which is scary. I mean, on a live stream, talking about race, you want to be careful, but if we can't talk about these things, we can't get to a better place. And so I think all of us, we have to talk about it as much as we can.
Yeah. And that's what the book club is.
Oh, yeah.
Here for. Need that.
Yeah. Maybe before we wrap this up, we haven't gotten to talk about TV shows and music and I feel like in our space yet, and I would love to hear, especially if you happen to have any shows that have good diverse shows, but just in general, what are you guys watching right now, listening to?
Meghin, you seem excited to talk about what you're watching.
Yeah. So I've been binge watching Love, Victor on Hulu, and it's so good. I watched Love, Simon. I think I saw it in theaters actually, and because I read the book, and the book was so good. And I went and saw the movie, and the movie was really good. And it's just such a cute Star Wars.
I'll talk about Star Wars and Thrawn here in a little bit.
And we'll get to that in a second, Victor.
It's just such a cute, I don't know, because it doesn't. I guess the reason I love Victor especially is, number one, he is Hispanic, which I think is important because I feel like there's not a lot of because I guess this is technically a young adult show. It's kind of geared. It's as if you're reading a young adult novel, but it's kind of geared towards that audience. It was actually supposed to be on Disney Plus, but then the moms against whatever were like, no, you can't put a gay kid on Disney Plus, and so they moved it to Hulu. Disney was like, fine, we'll just put it on Hulu. Put it on Hulu, and it's just really good. It's really sweet. And I'm obsessed with it. I have 2 episodes left, and I just started it today. so I've literally been just binging it. It's been a while since I've binged it. But I would highly, 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 highly recommend it. It's really good so far. And then the other thing I'm watching, I actually love TV. I mean, I love books, but I love TV too. I like getting immersed. I love getting immersed in characters. And I really love Bones. That is one of my absolute favorite TV shows. I'm watching it through for the 4th time again. But I really love the show. It's the first time though that I went to read the books and just did not like the books. I am really suffering. I'm really struggling to get through the books. But the series is really, really good. And yeah, I would recommend it. And I see that Victor said Love, Simon was a great movie, good writing and characters. Yeah, it was really good. I can't recommend the movie and then Love, Victor enough.
There you go.
Cool. Trevor, do you want to show your Star Wars book?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Victor. So this is the 3rd Thrawn book. Which he's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. He's a bad guy. But in the books, I mean, that I like that whole, I really love the no one is evil, just maniacally evil. The best bad guys and the best villains in all of stories, they really believe what they're doing is for the general good. If they just love chaos and killing for no reason, that's not very believable. People aren't actually like that in real life. Thrawn is awesome. It's the 3rd book in the series, and he's actually in September. The author is coming out with his origin story. Outside of the Empire or whatever. And actually it goes along with the TV shows I've been binging lately is Star Wars Rebels, which I've never seen before, the cartoon. And anyone of the Star Wars nerddom is probably gasping at the fact that I haven't seen it. I'm on season 4 right now. And they're great. I kind of watched all of the Clone Wars again not too long ago. I actually am in need of a new. We watch TV every night before we go to bed. We were watching Homeland for a long time. That was fantastic. What else? I could have used Stranger Things during this quarantine. I'm telling you, Stranger Things was, I could have watched 4 more new seasons of Stranger Things.
I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
Hey Jay, thanks for hopping on and saying hi.
Trevor, do you ever watch Billions?
I think we watched the first couple episodes, and I liked it. I really liked that main character, the redhead guy. I forget his name. He was in the first 3 seasons of Homeland, and which was like ridiculously good. Claire Danes is amazing. I was not a My So-Called Life fan. Do you remember that? Do you two remember that?
I do, show? But I never watched it though.
I think it was MTV, like in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. Oh
yeah, no.
Anyway, she's fantastic.
She was like, early 90s.
She just said, she said there was a girl named Rayanne on the show. She said there was a girl named Rayanne on the show, so she remembers it.
She's like, oh, I know.
Yeah, I forgot what else are we watching right now? We're not watching anything. We need a good new series to watch. We were watching Mindhunter.
Thanks for hopping on.
If anyone watched Mindhunter, I think it was on Netflix. It was about like the development of serial killer profiling.
Yes, okay, you guys.
Oh gosh.
Here's a cool fact about Meghin. I love true crime. Like, that is all I listen to in the podcast world. I've been watched Criminal Minds like a million times. I have a serial killer encyclopedia. If you were able to look at can you look at Wikipedia history? My Wikipedia history would probably scare people. Like, that's all.
You're like my icons.
So yes, I've watched Mindhunters.
There was a time. Meghin? I'm sure you've seen Dexter.
Yes.
Okay, so there was a time when I was binging Dexter. I'd go to the gym during the day and just get on the elliptical or the treadmill and just watch like 2 or 3 episodes of Dexter. Okay, and you do that through like 7 seasons. And I found myself, which I love the show, but I found myself like walking past like something, and I'd be like, oh, that'd be a good place to hide a dead body. You know, I'd be like, oh my God, I need to stop watching serial killer shows, like binging them, because I started thinking weird stuff. Like, oh, I think I could get away with it for sure. And no, that's not a good mind trick. But
so I told my sister the other day, I was like, everybody's probably at some point thought about killing someone. Not like they're really going to do it, but everyone's probably thought about it, but no one's going to say it out loud because they all think that's weird. But like, we have those sides of ourselves, you guys. Like,
we're animals.
I think I've only ever thought of killing someone in like the self-defense. Like, all of a sudden, I become discover I'm actually a ninja out of nowhere. Like, I'm actually a really good fighter. I didn't know that. Good thing that person tried to kill me, and I actually had to kill them. Like, that's as far as it's gotten for me.
That's why the Jason Bourne series was so much fun. It comes down to, it was the action sequences were amazing. It was instant classic. But everyone wants to kind of like all of a sudden turn into James Bond and like not know. Oh, and
Charlie's Angel.
I don't, yeah. And I could just that took James Bourne series everywhere. So
that's like,
and I'll mention
Limitless.
Oh, Limitless.
Did you ever watch Limitless? Well, the movie.
I saw the movie. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the movie's intense, and he's just like knows everything, and just like you just know how to defend yourself. Or Chuck. Did you ever watch Chuck?
I don't think so.
You guys, you gotta watch Chuck. He gets like a supercomputer in his brain, and he like knows everything. Oh, it's so good. It's devastating.
So he's like a
but
serial
it's so
killer,
good.
right?
No, he's not. No. He like fights bad guys.
Oh, I'm thinking like Dexter.
Yeah, no, it's not like Dexter. No.
I actually haven't.
Chuck
But
the
like stuff
movie?
like that gives me anxiety. I actually don't. I don't do well with true crime.
No, they're
Yeah,
trying.
I can't do the true crime either.
You've
I mean, I
probably
do a little bit.
You've probably seen Chuck the movie at some point because people have been trying to get a movie and they haven't made a movie because the ending. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Jay. You're awesome.
Thanks for coming on, Jay.
You're awesome.
Megan.
Thank you.
Megan and I are so similar in so many ways, but that's one way we're not similar.
I'm like the dark version of Kateri. I'm like the dark side, and she's like.
Yeah, and I'm like totally the not dark side.
Oh, I mean, the last 3 weeks to 3 months, I mean, at one point I was reading out here, I went into the bedroom and Rayanne's watching like the Epstein documentary. And I'm like, can you not end my day on like sex trafficking pedophile guy? It's just been a hard 3 months. And then the last 3 weeks, the true crime and the like all that stuff after a while just becomes a downer for me. And I'll just put on The Office because I just need something to like.
Yeah. The Jeffrey Epstein thing, I actually kind of want to watch because it like, it's like a subject that does actually interest me. Whereas for me, and Megan's probably be like, oh, you're so wrong. But like, I feel like true crime, it just, at least like for what those people who do it, the books, the podcasts, like, you know, the marketing feels like kind of sensationalist. And so I'm like, oh, we're just going to talk about like really like crazy, shitty people. And like, I don't get the buy-in other than being like, it's just so interesting. And I when I do get hooked in, like I get it. But it's just something I like stay away from. But I actually think I might watch the Jeffrey Epstein one because it's like that is kind of, there's like it's just so tragically fascinating to me.
It's crazy.
Yeah. On a lighter note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a good sense of who I am now. My recommendation is Middleditch and Schwartz on Netflix. Improv drama theater, improv. It's only 3 episodes, but they're like, but it's also kind of like a comedy act. What do you call it? Comedy show. You know, like if someone does a comedy show, stand-up comedy, they're usually like 50 minutes to an hour or something. So yeah, they're like 50 minutes to an hour. And so it's, so if you're not familiar with what like improv theater really is, it's basically just like the actors go on stage, they have absolutely nothing prepared, and usually they fish from the audience for whatever their topic is going to be, so like it's not prepared, and then they just have to, it's only 2 guys in Middleditch and Schwartz, but I've seen it done with like a bigger group, but they have to create a story for you right then and there, and it's actually like some of the most funniest stuff I've ever seen. Like, so anyway,
It's really hard. I haven't seen it. I hear they're good at it. We went to one of those live here in Seattle, and it was awesome. And the improv really kind of whatever. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, because people are so talented and funny, but it's also like they're so smart. Like, I don't know. There's like a crazy intelligence, behind their ability to be able to think on the spot like that.
It's like freestyle hip hop.
Kind of,
It's like, how did your brain go that fast and think of metaphors and twisting that quickly? It's an art form that is I could never do. It's impressive.
Yeah. When I was in middle school, I was like, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. And I was homeschooled too, so I was like a total dork at the time. But one of the classes I took, like as my extracurricular, I took a drama class, and she made us do improv every single class. That's how we opened, is we did improv. And I was like, I'm hilarious.
Yeah. I did drama all year. Though. I did it like all 4 years in high school, and I was terrified of it. I was so like, now I'm like, oh, I wish I had. But I was just like, so like, give me a script, give me something I can rehearse over and over and over and over and over again. Like almost like a dance. Cause that's, I was actually like a dancer at the time. And so that's what, like, I couldn't get past that. Like I couldn't break out of that box of like, when you have a dance, it's like choreographed everything by the like millisecond. Right. So I couldn't get out of that brain space, but now I'm like, oh man, like it's actually so cool. Like I wish I had practiced and like gotten good at improv.
Yeah.
Even just stand-up comedy too, which is its own thing.
Yeah.
I've been told before that I'm somewhat funny, but that is an art form. And then like improv, like it's so much harder. I think the saying in like writing goes like comedy is a lot harder than drama. You know, it's a lot harder to make someone laugh than it is to make someone cry. So when you see these improv live shows or even stand-up comedy, when you have the material written down, it's the delivery and every audience is different. Stand-up comedy is tough.
Fun fact, I'm actually barely, more so my boyfriend, in a Dave Chappelle special. We went to see him at I think it's called the Palladium a couple years back when he was really starting to come back for stand-up comedy. And we just bought tickets, and then it turned out he was actually filming a special. We didn't know. And there's like one, we were like on the side and like a few rows, like we were pretty close to the stage. But yeah, it just happened. There's not really a shot where you can like super see us, but we found one. We like paused it and I was like, which is like my boyfriend's like all-time favorite comic. So it was cool.
Jay has a question for us. This is our first question. Cool.
We're only an hour, 20 minutes in. Our first question.
The first question. So, favorite comedians, all-time versus currently. Well, kind of speaking off of what Kateri said. So I wouldn't say I'm not super like I don't watch a ton of like comedy specials, but I have seen a few like live shows. So I don't know if you guys know who like Bobby Bones is, but he's like country music. He's one of the country music DJs on iHeartRadio, but he's also like now like one of their VPs. Anyways, he does comedy now, but I actually, when he first started doing comedy, I went to his very first show in New Orleans, and I had his book, and I got to meet him, and like he like signed my book, and I got to hug him. Anyways, it was really cool because like I had like I've watched, and now ever since then I've like watched him like progress, and he's been on a lot of comedy tours now, and like anyways, he's funny. He's got that like self-deprecating humor in a way, but anyways, he's funny. And then we also saw, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. Who's the guy on Arrested Development? David Cross.
Oh yeah.
My husband told me we saw him. I
love Arrested Development.
Okay, it is hard for me to get like offended, I guess. But watching David Cross, some of the stuff he said, like I was like, is he like? I know he's a comedian, but I was like, that's not even funny. Like that's like past funny, and like, you know. But he's Zach's favorite. He's my husband's favorite. He loves him. He thinks he's hilarious. So those are some of the ones I've seen, and then I like Eliza.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like her. I think she's funny. Annoying sometimes, but I think she's funny.
Yeah.
I grew up, I don't think anyone's made me laugh more than, well, probably Jerry Seinfeld made me laugh more than anyone. I loved Chris Farley. He just, I see him and I just start laughing. All his movies, all of his stuff. And there's a documentary about Chris Farley that is like, you'll do more up and down, laughing and crying when you watch it. Just a sad story about Chris Farley. I love Jim Gaffigan. I think he's hilarious. We've seen him live a couple times. Obviously, Dave Chappelle. Yeah. I don't
know. Sorry. So, yeah, my boyfriend's like a huge comedy buff. So, I wasn't like super into it. Like, if I had never met him, like I'd probably like all time, like genuinely from a kid, Robin Williams. That was like my first like notion of a comedian. And I'd also say Steve Martin. So, but I really like, I haven't done it. Okay, I'm trying to think. Michael Che is one recently who his stuff started going around. He did the bit on like talking about Black Lives Matter and talking about how like the end of the bit is like it's like of course now I'm gonna try to say a bit and I'm gonna like just butcher it, but he like compares like saying all lives matter to like a husband telling his wife like, baby, I love everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he's great. Who else?
You're very brave, Kateri, for doing a bit on a live stream or attempt to. It's very brave of you.
Yeah. As you're going, I'm like thinking of other ones.
I guess I'm doing this.
I'm like thinking of other ones. Bo Burnham, he's hilarious. Bo Burnham.
He wrote 8th Grade. You know the movie 8th Grade?
Yeah. He's hilarious. His last comedy special made me cry though, because he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. That was essentially like the whole premise of his last special. He was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like being a stand-up comedian anymore. I don't want to do this. And then John Mulaney is the other one. He was hilarious.
He's good.
It's hilarious.
He's so funny.
I'm totally blanking. The guy who, dang it, Dave Chappelle's partner from Chappelle Show. He's also a comedian, and sorry. No, he like co-wrote part. Okay, sorry. Also, okay, now like his wife just comes up. Okay, I'll remember it later, maybe. And then also, Hannibal Buress is another one that's really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's funny.
He's hilarious. So yeah, there's a lot of great ones. Neil Brennan, thanks, Victor. I should have asked you. Neil Brennan, and when you said his special made me cry. So I love Neil Brennan's first one. I think it's his first one on Netflix, at least. He has I guess I'm doing another one. He has this funny bit that's like, sometimes I really like it's like, because when it feels like you're like laughing at yourself, even though he's a guy, he actually did an okay bit about girls, because he was like, there's always that girl at the party who's like, I'm cold. Which now whenever I'm cold and I like think to myself I'm cold or even say it, then I just have to like do the bit and I'm like, I'm cold. So yeah, I love Neil Brennan.
Victor, you need to come on a live stream with us sometime.
Oh yeah.
Victor
we talked about doing one.
Yeah, he is a super interesting person, you guys. I feel like the Yin Gang, more people in the Yin Gang need to know Victor.
Yeah. Great poet, great writer. Also, yeah, we might do one on like dance. We talked about doing.
Yes, you guys need to come on. But he's like one of those people, Victor, you're one of those people where like, you know so much about so much, and those are my kind of people. Because like, I was telling Kateri, sometimes I will literally learn about something just so I can talk to people about it, even if it's not necessarily something I'm like super into. I'll just like go learn something because I know it's like someone somewhere is going to want to talk about that topic. So I'm going to learn about it. Like, even if it's just very surface.
Yeah.
That's my kind of people.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Cool. That's another show. Community, except for we had to put that on pause mid-season 3, but we'll try it again. So anyway.
9 says that too.
Oh, yeah.
Jake Peralta. Andy Samberg in general, I feel like is just like my spirit person. I feel like that's who I am on the inside.
I'm not a big roast person. You know, the roast that go on Comedy Central, they roast someone. But Andy Samberg had one of the funniest roasts I've ever seen. I think it was...
I love him.
I forget who it was. I'm sure if you just Google or YouTube Andy Samberg roast, it's so... he's kind of making fun of roasting, which he's a genius. I mean, the way that his brain works is just a little different.
You know, the movie I probably quote the most often is Hot Rod.
Never seen it. I'm writing down things that I have to.
Hot Rod.
All the content.
Princess Diaries is my all-time favorite movie, but as far as like stupid comedy goes, like Hot Rod, I like could watch that over. Thank you. See, Victor. See, Cool beans.
He knows.
That's the whole bit. Okay, it's the weirdest sequence, but it's so funny, and it's just such a funny movie, and it's so quotable. I think you could literally quote every single line. Pretty much, actually, any Lonely Island, the Lonely Island movie, any of their movies, you could quote, like Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping, and
Megan's she's just gonna keep going.
I love the Lonely Island. Okay, all right. We do need to wind down. I could just keep talking, you guys. Earlier, Kateri was like, "Oh, Megan's just a chatterbox." I am. This is in school. This is what I got in trouble for.
She's just gonna keep going, even though somewhere in the back of her brain, she goes, "I should probably stop."
It's word vomit. Okay, it just keeps going, and I'm like, Megan, shut up. in my head. Megan,
I love our talks.
Talking.
Keep talking. Good. So great talk, guys.
We covered a lot.
So I love how fun to have that balance of talking about, welfare and how fucked up the system is, and then talking about our favorite comedians. I love it.
Welfare and comedy.
Yeah. So that's our, I don't even know which one, fourth book club happy hour. Hope you guys are enjoying these live streams. We're planning to keep doing our mid-month check-in. That was the other thing I wanted to plug. I brought one more book, which is next month's book, because we have announced it, so I feel like I gotta and this was actually sort of, now it will be, just knocked over something. Too many books. It'll be in tandem. We will also have a discussion with Giselle Huff, kind of in tandem, I think, with these, because she actually recommended that we read this. And it was even like kind of before, George Floyd and all, everything happening with the Black Lives Matter movement, I think. But we wanted to read something that was about making a movement. And, like, what can we do from here? So that's what this book appears to be about. We haven't read it yet, but that's next month's book. So now you can get it and get started now if you'd like. And Tyranny of Kindness in a week with Scott Santens and a special guest. So look out on Twitter for that link coming at you so you can set your reminder on YouTube. And I think that's all I have. Did I miss anything?
Nope. Covered everything.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay. Books. Gang Book Club.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Getting to know us a little bit. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you next time. Yang Gang Book Club out. I guess I'll close it myself. Bye.